Moving on to the second question raised by Quratullah and Ahmed from Tooting, and they've asked, on the day of Eid al-Azha, those Muslims who can afford to sacrifice an animal are enjoined to do so after the Eid prayer. And they've said it's advised to wealthy Ahmadis to go to the homes of their poor brethren to wish them happy Eid and offer them gifts and give them the Qurbani meat, which is the meat that comes from the sacrifice of the animal. And they've said, how should we give this meat out in countries where there are no poor people? I suppose that comes off the assumption that that there are countries in the world that have no poor people, and I think we may struggle to find those. But Dr. Saab, perhaps you could shed some light on this question.
Before Dr. Saab gives the answers, let me just mention one thing, that I think she has mentioned that after the Eid prayer. So I just want to highlight one point which might be good for many people to know, that the Qurbani, the sacrifice of the animal, it has to be done after the Eid prayer has been offered. The animal should not be slaughtered before the Eid prayer, or the day before, or 2 days before, as normally in Western countries it happen. Many people, without knowing the reality, they just simply go to the butcher shop and say, we want to have the full lamb which has been slaughtered a couple of days ago, and they bring that meat home and, oh, we have done the sacrifice. That is not right. So it has to be rightly mentioned there after the Eid prayer. So after the Eid prayer, then they should make sure that the animal is slaughtered. If possibly, they should go themselves, or make sure with the butcher that it is slaughtered in the proper way after the Eid prayer, not before that. So now the answer from Dr. Saab.
Well, poverty is a relative term when you look at the whole world, I suppose. Therefore, this type of poverty that we see in the third world countries, for instance, we do not see in the Western world as such. However, there is poverty still in, for instance, the UK where we are. And the government produces figures that the type of poverty, child poverty and adult poverty, and the figures are quite alarming. However, that may be relative to the UK, that what is poverty, and the government obviously have guidelines as to what they classify as poverty. Lack of resources, for instance, to be able to live according to the normal standards that have been set in this country. So there are people, even in Western countries and in UK, in Europe, in the States, who actually do not have the full means to be able to subsist on whatever they require. And there are social services in UK, I know, who have registers of families who are under the poverty line and who require some assistance, apart from the assistance that they get from the social services to live on. So in that respect, if you live in the UK, there are still options for you to be able to offer donations of meat, is it Qurbani meat, or other assistance to these people. And in view of the question, yes, if you contact the social services, then they are always able to give you names of people and their addresses, so that you can go to these houses. I know in Gillingham this has been done in the past, and people have accepted these gifts of Qurbani from our members. So
yeah, we should probably also make the point that if for whatever reason one can't find the facility in this country, there are other countries in the world perhaps that have a greater level of impoverishment, where a Qurbani can be offered there and the meat can be distributed to the poor in those countries. So there are obviously these facilities available where, despite perhaps a lack of a facility in a particular maybe Western world, one can continue to make that sacrifice and stay within this practice.
Another thing is that apart from doing the Qurbani and actually giving the meat, which is the right way of doing it, I think some money can also be sent. But with that explanation immediately I gave, that monetary help should not be taken as a substitute for the sacrifice. Sacrifice is sacrifice, but as meat cannot be transported so easily to other countries, at least on top of the sacrifice, they can also be given some money. Because the whole essence of Eid celebration, there are so many other aspects, but one important thing is sharing your happiness with the poor people. As I remember, the Khulafa of the Jamaat, they have always been advising that it's not nice that on the day of Eid, all families, they become happy by being together in one place and enjoying food and all that, and forgetting the poor people or their poor relatives or other people who are in other countries. So wherever the poverty is there, wherever the need is there, we have to share, and perhaps to immediately those people who are near you, people have to go and share with them. One point was mentioned that poor people are everywhere. I can tell you that even in these very affluent countries, sometimes such scenes are there which really are very disturbing. Many a time it is seen that when you go through the underpasses in London, very big city, very affluent city, but you see some people at night time sleeping in cardboard houses. I mean, they don't have any place to go, and just they gather some cardboards and make it their bedding and sleep overnight there. These people have got nothing to eat. I mean, maybe very few, but that is definitely a case. And I remember that Majlis Khudam Ul Ahmadiyya here in UK has been some time preparing the food and taking it on that day of Eid to those people who are just sitting there hungry, or sometimes these people are seen picking up some edibles from the rubbish bins. So the poor people are there. So, but the whole idea is that we should spread it all over the world, and wherever we can help and let these people share the happiness of Eid, that would be something very nice.
Jazakallah, Imam Sahib. Jazakallah again to the questioners for all of your questions. A reminder once again, we will happily accept all of your questions. You can email your questions to us, and the email address is faithmatters@mta.tv. That's faithmatters@mta.tv. Or if you prefer, you can fax us. The fax number is international dial +44 208 687 8037. We have, amongst the many questions we've received, also received a lot of emails of support, people who've enjoyed watching the program and have learnt much from the program. Thank you all for your emails. We may not be able to perhaps respond to each of them individually, but we'd like, through this program, to thank you all for your messages of support.